Alright guys, Dylan here back with more Forbidden West. Only gonna do a little bit here. Well, actually, I don't know how much I'll do, but only one episode tonight. It's already late. It's already like 1:30 in the morning. But I'm not like tired, and I also like kind of want to play some more. So yeah, that's obviously what we're doing. I guess we'll do that. Yeah, so just free roam, upgrade equipment. That's really what we'll do here. Work today. Worked on my script for Star 42 review. And here we are after that. Can I climb any higher? Okay, whatever. Wait, why haven't I been using? Oh, this is a warrior bow. That's why. Oh, well, whatever. I don't even know why I'm bothering anything about that. Wait, it's this one. Right? Yeah, again, just gonna do stuff with this. I have a pretty long day at work tomorrow, so I probably shouldn't stay up super late, but whatever. It's another thing here.
All the dead machines here. Can't find the parts I'm looking for.
So, is there nothing here? That's an owl? That might be helpful.
Didn't find what I needed.
Oh.
I'll have to go to another machine site.
Okay. Okay, so where should I go now? But yeah, I mean, not much to update on outside of that. I mean, just kind of winding down here. Tomorrow I will stream after work. So that's something. Hopefully my laptop arrives on, my new laptop arrives on whatever day that is, on Monday. It was supposed to, however, it didn't ship until today, which is Saturday. And even now that it shipped, like, it shipped, like, I mean, it isn't like, wait, how do I get off again? I keep on forgetting what the controls are. But yeah, it's still not, like, giving me, like, an estimated date. So, I'm a bit worried on that. I don't know. Oh, shit. But yeah, probably just gonna listen to podcasts and stuff. Oh, shit. Really? I ain't get it.
If I'm gonna find the parts I need, I should check all the machine carcasses here.
Well, that's annoying.
This is getting quicker. Not more machines here. Maybe
That's stuck.
I'll come back later, some will show up.
Yeah, let's just listen to podcasts, because might as well.
About here. But I think what does play out, though, is that it is easier for when there's a majority of players who are not of color to picture their end game excluding the people who they see themselves as different from. So in the beginning, it might be all kumbaya. They might be relying on the tribe for food and shelter and winning challenges, and they are learning about each other, and they're sharing and they're bonding, and that's all real. But I think what it comes down to is that at the merge, the relationships that got formed early are the ones that stay true all the way through. And so when they have that barrier, right, when you see someone like Drea and you're thinking, oh, maybe she's aggressive, or when you see someone like Chanel and you think she's like standoffish and sneaky and conniving, right? Or you see someone like Roxroy and you think, oh, he's just big and domineering and bossy and kind of misogynistic because he has these ideas about the family or whatever, right? Then it's just, you can make a very easy leap to think maybe it's just easier to not calculate people of color in your long-term game of what's going to be better for you. And that's not saying the game is racist. That's not saying individual people are racist. It's just commenting on the fact that possibly what is occurring is that the ways in which we're divided as a society just come to a head when the end goal is survival, right? If all things go to shit in America, okay, and the government is dissolved and there's marauders in the streets, who are you going to protect? You're going to protect your family, okay? And most likely, statistically, your family looks like you for very genetic reasons. And so I just think it's just a tamer version of that. It is survival. It's $1 million. I don't hate anyone. I'm not racist. I don't hate people. I work with all different kinds of people. I have all different kinds of people in my family. But in this game, I got to find my people. And like I said, I don't think it's completely like I'm making this explicit decision, but to the question that has been asked, to the pattern that we're seeing, it might just be playing out that way. And I think that's what Drea and Marianne were trying to explain to us. Yeah.
Baby Andy asks the question, with the 50% Black, Indigenous, People of Color initiative continuing into future seasons, how do you see this new era developing? Will this unique pressure that's on Black players be lessened over time? And, you know, I think it's always great to ask you about this because you were one of the people that was involved with the diversity initiative with CBS, and you worked with CBS to come up with, these, new guidelines that they put into play for this new, and now basically like we're through like almost like a full filming cycle under this new plan, and I would love to, find out from you how you feel like it's been going.
Yeah. I think it's been going great. I think it's been going really, really good. And let me just say, for last year's cast, for this year's cast, I'm sorry, last season's cast and this season's cast, when these things have come up, the ways that they so beautifully articulated their experience, connected with people in ways that Survivor has never connected with people before. Okay? People who were fans, who loved, rooting for Joe Englund and Boston Rob, and I'm a fan of them, there's no hate towards them. I loved those guys. I loved watching, Parvati, all about it. But I just didn't quite see myself that much. Not that much, a little bit, right? Earl, right? A little bit, but not that much. Now, imagine young kids who look like me, right? Who look like Omar, who look like Nasir, who look like Romeo, right? Finally, like, wow, we're out here, here. I think that's a beautiful thing, and we just got a new Supreme Court justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
She's a Survivor fan.
She is. Is she? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea.
That there was a lot of talk about how that she's allegedly is a Survivor super fan.
What?
Yeah.
Ketanji Brown Jackson knows who I am, you think?
I don't know if she's like on the Survivor trivia segment with Jordan Kalish, but that was one of the things in her, like one of her profiles was that, and then one of her favorite shows is Survivor.
Oh my gosh.
She could be a casual. I don't know. I mean, I think you're very busy as like court justice.
Not that busy, right? What do? You hear some people talk for a couple hours and then you watch Survivor, okay? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, anyway, so
that's amazing that you brought her up, and then that wasn't even for the reason.
No, that wasn't for the reason. The reason why was I feel like Cory Booker. Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, my home state.
Yes.
Was sitting in those confirmation hearings for Ketanji Brown Jackson, and the senators were asking all kinds of crazy questions and giving her a hard time, and it was and
grandstanding, yeah.
Exactly. And he just looked at Ketanji Brown Jackson and was like, I'm not gonna let anyone steal my joy. I am so proud. I am so filled with love and adoration for this beautiful person in front of me about to be a Supreme Court nominee. That's how I feel when I see this moment. Oh my God, Rob, this moment when Jeff says, I don't know, it's up to them. Do you guys want to turn in your idols? And Drea and Marianne both get up and turn in their idol and say, I am not going home. And to make it a little bit more deep, I was debating going here, but this inspired me to do so. Survivor, microcosm of the real world. The fact that two black women were able to, in the game, utilize a symbol of power in ways that have been used throughout the iterations of the game since the idol concept inception, to me just reeked of privilege, right? A privilege that has not been afforded to particular people, right, in the country, and for them to be able to protect themselves with this shield, right, as like a metaphor for just like, you're not going to get me. In this game, I'm not going to succumb to the forces that have typically held down women of color specifically. Mr. Jeff, here you go. I'm not going home. I beam with pride when I think of that moment. I beam with pride when I think of Liana, right? When I just think of how they are able to just articulate their experience, right? And what it means to them. It's just a really proud moment, and I think we can all appreciate that.
Yeah.
To the question, though, to get back into game a little bit, I do think that it's going to evolve. This is new, Rob. This is new. We have not ever seen diverse casts like this have to interact with these elements of the game. Survivor is going to Survivor, right? It's going to chew up all of this stuff such that there's going to be now a playbook, and there's going to be things that people are looking out for that they didn't necessarily look out for before. We've seen it happen time and time again. We're all paranoid about women's alliances. We're all paranoid about someone sneaking off and looking for the idol too early. We're all paranoid about the power couple. Why? Because we've seen iteration after iteration with that. It becomes a threat, and then we are scared of it. It's a threat, and then we adjust, and then the game changes, and then we adjust. This is a new element of the game. And it's going to be a little messy, because that's what diversity does, right? Diversity becomes messy because you're confronted with conversations and experiences that you didn't have to deal with before. But the beauty of that is that people who look like me, right? People who don't typically see themselves represented can watch the game evolve and feel like they belong to this community who could possibly play this game and win $1 million. And that, to me, is worth it. That is priceless. So absolutely a big fan of the changes that we've seen.
To go back to the Survivor fandom of Ketanji Brown Jackson. So I think I undersold her Survivor fandom, because according to this article from Heavy.com, that her fandom for Survivor is on another level,
what?
Jamal. That according to a former coworker who spoke fondly of her personality. What we really missed about her when she left was her talk around the water cooler. Ketanji would come in the next morning after every show, and she would critique them to great lengths on their performance the night before. But if you think her fascination with American Idol was something, her fascination with Survivor is at another level.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
At least tell her the
So,
whole story.
another level.
No, I love it. I freaked out when Barack Obama started following me on Twitter.
I remember. It was during your season, right?
Yeah, during my season, I was just over the moon. I have to think that it's not actually him. You know, it's just like a staffer who's like a weird Survivor fan who's just like, yeah, I'm gonna follow all the Survivors. But yeah, that's wild. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah, maybe I'll get to meet her sometime. She might invite me to the SCOTUS.
Yeah, well,
Come looking for you. It doesn't make any sense. The way he looked at me. It was like I was a stranger. Perhaps it's time to recognize he's fine. He has to be.
I can't make any promises, but I'll find him if I can. At least to see if he's all right. Where's his hunting camp?
Southeast of here. Thank you. Glad that's settled. Now you need to rest.
Okay.
next time Bryce and Wendell have like the DC viewing party.
Yes. She should grace us.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to so many questions are from Tribal Council. Josh Kettle says, Robin Jamal, do you feel like that there should be a mechanism built into the game? Let's call it a pause button that if people are experiencing the kind of distress Dre was experiencing, that they can catch their breath and recover before re-entering the game. Is that something that's worth exploring?
Fuck.
Interesting. So it exists. They just don't show it to us.
Yeah.
At my final tribal, when I was on the jury, and it was Tommy Dean and Nora. Nora got very overwhelmed with the questioning and the ways in which we were coming at her. That she actually walked off and had to take a minute and I think she had to use the restroom or whatever. And so obviously you don't see that, but there are edited out moments where the game does kind of pause a little bit. I've always said though that once you turn the players on, once you turn the game on, once that very first climb into the ship or you land on the beach, the game can't pause. It can't stop, right? Because we're all there. We're all seeing. We're all calculating. We're all, assuming the worst of each other, assuming that we're lying, assuming that we're manipulating. It's the kind of game where you can say that. You can say, "Hey guys, let's take a break. Let's take a breather. Let's stop here." But what you're seeing on TV, it's not scripted. Like it's not a show that you just like turn the next scene on. Like we are playing the game for 20 whatever straight days or 30 something when I was there, straight days, like hour to hour. Like it can't stop because of the nature of the game, So I don't think that would actually work. But it does happen that people do take the breather, but it doesn't mean that the game stopped,
The great Genevieve Guadalupe wants to know, if you were present as a player at the Second Tribal Council last night, what would you have said to your fellow tribe mates in that scenario? Is there anything that you felt like that was unsaid?
Okay.
I don't. I don't. I do not make a habit, as everyone knows, of speaking for women, of speaking for others. I think Marianne and Drea said what they wanted to, and we all are better people for listening to what they had to say. I could not have said it or defended them any better than they said and defended themselves. I really encourage everyone to just go watch that tribal again. Just do it. Just turn it on right now. Go watch that tribal again. Listen deeply. Try to, take a step back if you felt triggered, if you felt attacked, if you felt like a fan, if you were completely like in Drea and Marianne's corner. Take a second and listen to Lindsay. Take a second and actually like sit and listen to what Jonathan was trying to communicate. We're all better for taking a second and listening to how people would explain their own experiences.
Let's go back to Omar. Jordan Kalish wants to ask you, Omar essentially has a working relationship with everybody still in the game. What's his best path forward out of his many options? And how does he continue to not get caught playing a ridiculously strong social game with everyone? So do you have like a one specific path that you would recommend for Omar?
Yes.
From our buddy Jordan Kalish.
Yeah. Hi, Jordan. Yes, I think that Omar should target Mike right now. Mike is on an island.
Yeah.
He lost his closest ally in Roxroy. He's now suspicious to anybody he was working with on the other side for having voted out Roxroy. I think Mike is very vulnerable, and they should either try to blindside him or team up with Drea to take his idol and then vote Mike out, right? But I think Omar's core needs to be Romeo and Hai. I just think they work really, really beautifully together. I think that would be an incredible group of people to see navigate this game together, but maybe they're all the biggest threats for each other too. So yeah, I just think Omar needs to hold on to that. I think he has a good thing going with that group.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to watch him because at some point he's going to get called out, right? At some point, like somebody's going to say, like, drop the coffee mug and say, like, hold on, wait, it's Omar. Omar's the one who's doing this.
Yeah. Well, Roxroy in his exit interview told us that Omar's playing the heck of a game. He's hard to read. He's like, not that he's hard to read, but you read him how he wants you to read him, if that makes sense, right? Like Roxroy it's probably easy to dupe Roxroy, but I do think that he is doing a good job, Omar is, of giving people what he wants them to have of their perception of him. Sorry, that was a complicated sentence, but all I'm saying is that Omar's doing a great job of presenting himself correctly to every person. And I don't know, like, what would someone have to say though, right? Which people would come together against him right now? Jonathan and Mike, I guess, but they just burned all their bridges. I just don't think there's any power set that's going to attack Omar.
I think that the person that I think is the most dangerous person for Omar, I think is Drea. And because I feel like that Omar has so many connections, but Drea is not really one of them. That he has connections with, obviously his Taku people, now connections with Hai, certainly with Romeo, and then, even a little bit with Mike, we've seen him, but I don't think we've seen him really have a conversation with Drea in the season. I kind of feel like that they are sort of like on, opposite sides of the game right now.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So we could have a really interesting showdown. Yeah, for sure.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's interesting because she is a person who is seen as like somebody who is like has a lot of power and powers in the game, and I think that he is not seen as that. He is sort of like seen as a person who is like maybe like closer to the bottom, somebody who doesn't have any advantages. So they're sort of like playing very different games, and I think that if I had to say, I think that those might be like the two players to watch here now as we get into the final 8.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I think you're absolutely right. I think that they are ready to showcase their end game, right? Like I think, like I said, I think Omer came in focused, right? Like he's executing his game, and I think we're about to see what he came in to do with his final 8 run, whatever that turns into.
Yeah.
Rhea is reinvigorated. She's ignited, and I think she is going to have no words escaping. Drea will not hesitate to execute what she thinks she needs to do to get herself moving forward in the game. And I think that those are 2 interesting mindsets that are now going to butt heads. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating.
We have not talked a ton about Marianne from the perspective of where she is in the game. Obviously, we talked about the incredible job she did at Tribal, but I think that she's going to be a really interesting player to watch also. And I think that that's been sort of like a theme in terms of like talking about this Final 8, that there's so many different ways that it can go. She obviously has her connection to Taku, but we've seen her feel like, hey, I'm kind of on the bottom over here. This isn't really the best setup for me. Now we've talked about that potentially she could have like this new understanding with Drea, and that could be an interesting relationship for her to explore. So where do you think this goes for Marianne?
Yeah. I think she goes deep. I think she goes deep here, because I have a feeling that she's not threatening. She doesn't want anything, and I think that seems to be what's driving Omer and company in terms of who they consider to be the threats, the people who can win immunity challenges. That's why I think Lindsay becomes a threat really fast, because she killed that last challenge. We didn't talk about the challenge, but holy smokes, like Lindsay, that core strength, the balance, the focus, I think Lindsay's going to be really tough to beat now that Tori's gone, because Tori was the challenge beast. But anything that Jonathan can't win, I think Lindsay is going to shine now physically, and I think that's going to be really threatening to your Romeos and your Highs and such. So I just don't think Marianne's going to pop up on anyone's radar to target. You know what I mean? And Marianne has shown lots of willingness to go with the wins, right? She's very much like, oh, yes, let's do that. Yeah, I was thinking that too, right? And she's so good at just kind of roping people into like taking care of her. I know she's annoyed by it. She hates how Jonathan treats her, and she explains all that. But I do think that her personality is just the kind of personality where people are like, come here, come, like, I got you. Like, you're young, you're bubbly, you're like, seem like you're out of your element, even though she is super sharp, super cunning. She knows how to use that to her advantage. That's why I actually think it's an amazing strategy. She actually explains that to us, right? That she's using emotions as a weapon, right? She's emotional, but knows how to harness that to get what she wants. Hate it all he wants. That's the game, and she's doing it. So yeah, I think Marianne has a chance. I won't write her off. I think she will not be targeted in the next couple tribals and has some ammo to work with. So.
Yeah. And just to go back to that potential rivalry between Drea and Omer, like I feel like that she is that like one piece in the middle that both of them could be fighting for. Where we've seen like Omer have a relationship with Marianne the whole game, but now the possibility that could Marianne want to work with Drea? Marianne was very close with Tori, who's now out of the game. She doesn't have like that, friend who she can sort of like talk to in the game.
Yeah, that's true. And, maybe I'm not considering how others consider her really annoying as something that's going to come back to bite her. We know that Lindsay has a tough time. We know that Jonathan has a tough time with her interpersonally.
Sure.
Drea, like you said, has had moments of like, she's a lot. Although from what we're being shown, it seems like she's calmed down a little bit and seems like she's kind of settled down from how she came in. Right? She came in very, very hot. And maybe she's gotten that feedback and knows to tone it down a little bit. But who knows? I'm curious about if she can continue to harness her likability in terms of what her personality does for people, and not let it kind of be the wedge and be the reason that people start to think that it's time to cut her out.
Yeah, we are getting up there with day 17 to 18 in this game. You know, Marianne is like a lifelong Survivor fan. So they're like, oh my God, I'm here on Survivor. It's Jeff Probst. And it's like, you know, like that can be waning, to some degree. So she's not like as shot out of the cannon as she was earlier in the game. And so,
well, Jeff said that. Remember in the beginning? So I forgot who said it, but somebody was like, "Oh, and you're here, Jeff, and it's amazing to be with you." And Jeff was like,
"I think that was Mike." Yeah,
was Mike? Yeah, he's like, "That'll wear off really quick," and he's not wrong.
Yeah,
Jeff very quickly the aura of his celebrity wears off very quickly when you're out there.
Yeah. Jamal, I see that on the video you're wearing the is that a blue buff? What buff is that?
This is the merge buff of Island of the Idols season 39.
Ah,
I have 3 of them. There were 4 buffs in my season, right? So there was the Lyro tribe and the Vokai tribe to start. So I was started out on Vokai, so I got the purple one. And then I merge swapped or whatever, the tribe swapped.
Yes.
Right? To new Lyro, and that gave me the orange one. And then this was the merge one, the blue one with the little heads on it.
Yes.
That's Sandra. That's Sandra right there, and that's Boston Rob.
That's Rob. And then you don't have the collector's edition Final 5 buff, do you?
I didn't make it. I don't.
They don't give everybody one.
Yeah, they don't give everybody one. You got to earn your buff. You can't just get it.
Yeah. Was that a different color, or
this is my buff though? This is the one that I wore.
Yeah. Oh, you. Yeah. So you have the real real one.
I have all 3 original buffs that I wore.
Yeah. It looks great.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah.
I was debating what color to wear, but I figured I'd wear the one that was like of this moment in this game, right? The merge buff. So
that's perfect. Yeah, Angelina kicked it off last week where she was wearing a buff to come on the podcast, and now here you are.
Yeah. I think it should be a trend. I think it's. I don't get a lot of opportunity. I'll say it that way.
Wait, so what are the ones that I can do?
In my everyday social life, where this is an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I wear one every night, Jamal, because I wear it as an eye mask. Yeah.
Oh, get out! I did not know that. Look at that.
When I go to sleep, and then
I wore mine over my face to keep out the bugs and snakes and rats. So.
Sure. I don't know if it does a lot to keep the snakes out.
So you need more sand.
I think it does enough. Yeah. If not just like closes your eyes, it's a false sense of security. You know how you get under the covers and you think you're really safe as a kid? Mm-hmm. That's what the bug does for me. It makes you feel safe.
Yeah. Jamal, are there any other season 42 things that you want to explore? I know you do a lot of prep to come on the podcast.
Yeah, no, you're right. So, yeah, there was just one other moment that I want to just laud, and praise. Love the storytelling. I sang the praises of season 41. Also, these little, flashbacks and little vignettes of people's, little moments in people's lives where they struggle and they tell us what they're carrying into the game. Love it. The storytelling is so good. And one of the moments in terms of relationships that I just think was so powerful, and it's so sad actually to see how it's now playing out, but the High Romeo conversation.
Yeah.
About being queer, High being more confident and more out about his identity, and Romeo more reserved and struggling with how to communicate to his family, and how the airing of this show seems to be the moment when he's now completely out to his family. And
God damn it.
The level of intimacy that we got to witness there, and humanizing storytelling, and just, again, it's not an experience that I know, but I have to truly connect with what they were talking about. The substance of what they were saying, and I just think it helps. It helps every conversation like that, every humanizing moment where you're watching, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I don't really understand that, but I think I can connect to the feeling I think I can connect to the emotion. I think I can understand now that what motivates that person to be oriented to the world the way that they are. It moves the needle forward. And that's all I've ever asked of Survivor through the whole campaign, right? Is move us forward. You know, don't set us back. Don't use tired tropes and stereotypes and set us up to
Am I
fail
out?
in this game, right?
Oh.
Move us forward here, and
Oh,
that's
shit.
why I keep emphasizing, like, we're in 2022 now. Like, it's time. It's time for these conversations. It's time for us to see ourselves from wherever we come from. And I think these last 2 seasons have done wonders in that
I
effort.
need to get
So,
to a stash.
that's why I give them a shout
I
out.
was
for
also
that.
completely
Yeah,
out.
we get to know the Survivor players like
Whatever.
in such a way as like
No, fuck it.
three-dimensional people, like from over the years, and you know when we get into like that conversation about representation of getting to meet all of these different players that it's a show that 5 million, 6 million people watch, and not everybody has and players that are like so many other different people that we meet on Survivor, and so
Fuck,
it
still need that
is
many.
like and it has been like a really powerful way that people connect with the players on the show, and that's why people have bonds with these people that they met for that you talk to these Survivor fans, and they talk about somebody who played on the show, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and they know all these different personality traits about them. So it's great when the show is able to do things like this.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what would make for a really interesting Survivor book is the collection of tweets and direct messages that we all have gotten when these kind of moments happen, right? Like, I still to this day go back and read Instagram direct messages that I've gotten and tweets that and Reddit posts that I've seen when those moments happened for me on my season, right? The conversation with Jack, and obviously some of the stuff that happened during my vote out, just the ways that people connect. Stories, people come up to me at live shows and these watch parties and still 3 years later say, wow, that scene gave me the opportunity to talk to my kids about what that was about what was going on there, and showed a good example of how to address whatever issue. It's impactful. It makes a difference, and I would love to kind of I'd love to enshrine that aspect of the show, which is the ways in which people feel compelled to tell their stories and to feel validated and seen by the ways in which we offer up our lives for everyone. It's really beautiful. Really gorgeous element of the show in the face of some of the more darker elements. It's nice to remember that.
Well, anything else fun going on in your world outside of Survivor?
Might be worth taking a closer
No,
look with my
like I
focus.
said, Survivor is one of the more exciting things happening for me. So
It's the diversion, yeah.
it is it. I get to go to New York and hang out with you guys at the live show and kick it with Bryce and Wen. For the kickoff party, it's such a great thing to be a part of. My birthday is coming up.
When's your birthday?
My birthday is May 9th.
Okay.
Monday, so I'm taking that Monday off. I often have to share my birthday with my mom because it's obviously around Mother's Day all the time.
Yes.
So we have this tradition where I go and do something for her, and then she does something for me, so it kind of cancels out. But it is a beautiful moment for us to kind of celebrate the day that she became a mother and the day that I became who I am. So that's kind of nice. That's coming up for me.
Okay, because you're the oldest?
I am the only.
Only, okay. Yeah, so that's a very special Mother's Day. You're a very good son.
Yeah, for sure. She put all her eggs in this basket.
It was a good basket.
I don't know that was the
when
wise.
You find the right one, yeah.
I'm turning 37 and I haven't given her the grandkids that she so desperately wants yet. So I tell her often, I'm like, well, if you wanted them earlier, you should have spread that around a little bit. You don't throw your chips on black. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta spread that around.
So what's an example of what will you do for your mom for Mother's Day?
A smashed up card and a dead flint hook.
I
Maybe
will
we're
keep
taking
that
a
close to the
closer
vest.
look at
Okay,
my progress.
as a surprise. Okay.
It is a surprise.
Will she listen to this? Your mom will listen to your podcast appearances?
She will. She
Wow,
will.
that's
She's a big fan. Big fan. She wasn't a fan of Survivor necessarily, but she's a fan of me. I hope.
Yeah.
She'll come and check us out. But yeah, so she actually got me a gift. She sent me to go see. She will send me to go see the Temptations Broadway show.
Oh.
When we're down in New York. So
Yeah.
very, very excited for that. And I will return the favor with a Mother's Day present.
Yeah, I haven't even heard about that. It's the life story of the Temptations.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's the musical anthology. So it's this whole big
Fuck.
song and dance experience. So
Whatever.
one of those things where she had already seen it and she just kept being like, "You will love this show." So it's a culmination of her talking about it for a year and being like, "You got to go see the show." I'm like, all right, I will.
Jamal, are you watching anything else besides Survivor?
So I just finished The Ultimatum.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched it?
I didn't finish it. I started it, but I loved it. It's exactly the kind of stuff that I love. Yes.
This show is so crazy.
Yeah.
This is the one thing I'll say about it. I won't spoil it for anybody. Go watch The Ultimatum. It's a ridiculous premise, but it's so fun and really, really good. I suspect that they thought they were making a show in one direction, and shit just hit the fan and went sideways, and they were just winging it. And they were filming, and they were like, you know what? We don't know if this is even going to make it to cut or whatever, to air, whatever you call it. But they pulled it off. They landed the plane, and I was nervous for them halfway through. I was like, what are we doing here? I have a lot of notes for them. So if I ever get to speak to the makers of The Ultimatum, I have a lot of suggestions.
Yeah, I was watching it, and then I had it on one night I was watching it with my wife. She's like, "What is this? Turn this off!" Like, what is this? She was not amused. She doesn't like that kind of talk.
I imagine it's a little bit straining of a concept for established relationships.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't like to explore those thoughts, Jamal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I will say this one thing, and to compare it to Survivor, right? Survivor has done an incredible job of world building. Right, we've all bought into the premise here, where strangers on some kind of shipwreck, and we're landing on an island, and we have to survive, and we vote people out, and here are like the rules of the game, right? And we're all in. We're like, yeah, this is this world. There are certain things that are okay in Survivor that we do in Survivor that wouldn't make sense in the real world. But here we are. We understand the rules, and we all watch us kind of work in that world. I wish for The Ultimatum that they did a little more explaining of the world. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Is there any kind of science to this experiment that we're doing? Does this make sense? Like, what? Yeah, the answer is no. But it would be nice if they had some psychologist come on and say this is one of the best ways to get at the core of what connects you with your partner, and so we're going to send you on this experience where these are the rules and this is how you do it. I just feel like they didn't know what they were doing, and so we just saw the result of that.
Well, Jamal, if I could recommend to you that we had an Ultimatum recap podcast. Asia Welch and Mary Krakowski recap the whole series. It's just a couple of podcasts.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Absolutely. I'm down to participate. Yes.
Okay. And Jamal, where can people keep up with you on social media?
Oh my gosh,
do you want to give out your social media after today?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm all for it. Like I said, I come in and out. I'll disappear from Twitter for 3 months, and then I'll be like, oh hey guys, and then I'm there. I'm always cleaning it. So yeah, Twitter JammanK9, Instagram JammanK91, and Facebook as myself. So I'm there. Come see a photo that I post every 2 months or so.
Okay. Oh, hopefully we'll be posting a photo next week.
Yes, absolutely. My Instagram story will be popping.
Yes. Yeah, mine too. All right. Well, Jamal, I always appreciate so much when you come and spend time talking about the show. I love the way you look at the game. You're so wonderful on a podcast that you bring so much insight into looking at like the game from everybody's
Should bother
perspective.
doing it.
So,
I don't even really
I
want to do
always
it, to be
appreciate
honest.
that. Makes for
Maybe I'll save it
wonderful
for
podcasts.
Thank you,
live
Rob, for
stream.
continuing to invite me. I love coming on here.
Every season until you say no. Until I'm over it. I'm not watching.
No, I'm here for it. I'm locked in. And actually, may I say, now that you brought that up, I was listening to you and Steven yesterday, and I'm just gonna encourage the two of you to be more confident in your ability to talk about all things that happen on this show. Mm-hmm. Like I get it. I know. I hear the hesitance. I hear the like, oh well, who us two white guys, like who are we to talk about? But you guys are good. Like you guys know the game. You guys know how to talk about this stuff. People want to hear from you. So you don't have to be so tight about talking about the things that happen.
I appreciate that. You heard it here first. Let's get some more white guys breaking this stuff down from Jamal. No, but it's really. No, I'm teasing. But it comes from a place of that. I just like we don't want to get it wrong. Like we want to talk about what happened, and I feel like that. You always come at everything from a place of kindness, and I know like personally, like I feel like my heart is in the right place, and sometimes I don't feel like I have the right words to sort of say things the way that something like to get my thought across in a way that's not getting interpreted in a way that I'm not trying to say. So it is tricky to talk about these things, but I always appreciate that you afford us a lot of grace to talk about these things, and I just like really love that about you, about how like even looking at the like everything that went on in last night's tribal council, you afford a lot of grace to the players in the game as well, and like I know it's easy from like the outside to like be like very critical of everything that happens on the show, but coming from the perspective of like these are like all like real people involved, and we think they mostly have good intentions all the way around. It makes it a very complicated discussion, and I'm sure as you know.
Oh yeah, for sure, and yeah, I get it. It's scary, but we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it, even if it's just asking questions. There's plenty of topics that I don't know about. That if I were talking about something, I would just be like, I don't know about this, but I'm wondering this, and I'm questioning this, and I'm curious about the motivation behind that, and that's the conversation, right? That's how you spark people's curiosity to connect across differences. And so I think you guys have a great way about you, and I love listening to how you guys analyze the game. So go for it.
Well, thank you so much, Jamal. Of course. We've got still a lot more coverage coming your way. Of course, everything in our Survivor podcast, including our feedback show coming up over the weekend. Sasha Joseph will join me if you want to get your voicemails in for that. Wow. And then I'll be talking with Lindsay Wilson on our Survivor Academy for all of the future Survivor players. What lessons can they learn from this week's episode? Find out on Patreon, robinswebsite.com/patron. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking us out today. Jamal, all the best to you. See you in person soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Rob.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a karate teacher to trim their hedges.
Man, Sling is the best of life a month. That's it.
So your specific needs or
they're total lean whipped chocolate mousse layered bars, so you can maintain your healthy life.
Song Global. George.
George, thank you for being here.
Okay.
Shannon, it's always a pleasure to join you on your podcast. Happy to be back.
I'm so happy to have you from my COVID isolation, where all I do is watch Survivor, listen to podcasts about Survivor, dig in too much into this, write thousands of words of notes about this episode. So I'm going a little stir crazy, and I'm excited to have someone to talk to, really. Thank you for joining me here.
Well, that's good. I had COVID about a month ago as well, and binge watching season 1 of Australian Survivor just to kind of catch up on what I don't really remember. So, good COVID plan, I think, while you're isolating at home.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to binge Survivor South Africa season 4, which I still plan to binge in my isolation. But I called my mom last night, and I'm trying to do my puzzle, I'm trying to do this podcast, I'm trying to binge that. I've got like all this food to eat that my mom dropped and that my girlfriend dropped. And like last night I tried to eat 6 chocolate covered strawberries in one sitting because they were like going to go off, and I'm like trying to get through all this food. I'm like, I think I need my isolation to extend because I have so much to do and I can't get it done before Tuesday. So she's like, I don't think you're meant to be stressing yourself out. And so I'm like, I have to finish this puzzle. So that's currently where I'm at. Like, I think I'm losing it a little bit. I'm like alone. It's been a crazy week.
Are you pounding the Uber Eats like I did in isolation, just like 4 or 5 different orders a day?
Well, that's what I want to do. In my mind, I'm like, I kept thinking I'll get like sushi delivery, like I keep thinking about it, but my mom just dropped so much food that I'm like, no, I need to work through this mountain of food before I can even consider Uber, and I don't know that I'll ever get through it. So I'm just imagine someone just eating, doing like rushing between different parts of the apartment, rushing to do a puzzle, to binge this, to watch that. I got a rom-com I wanted to watch. Like, I'm stressed out by what I have to do in isolation and like the relaxing things that one should try to do, but it's like stressing me out.
As long as you get better soon, Shannon.
Thank you. No, I feel good. I feel just stressed. But George, I haven't spoken. Well, I've spoken to you, but not about Survivor since Australian Survivor ended. We were talking about it every week. We're actually in like a pretty typical Talking Tribal slot right now, getting to chat, which is fun. But how have you been since Australian Survivor ended, other than the COVID of it all? But like gallivanting around the country as you always are.
I've had a good time. I enjoyed working on Talking Tribal. It was fun to kind of be involved in that season again. And for both Haley and myself, it was kind of like back-to-back commitment. So we finished our season, which was airing about a year ago now. What tends to kind of like boggle my mind is we completed our pre-filming isolation and entire season. While that was being filmed, they got 41 and 42 in, and now this is kind of like the final kind of like closure of that year-long Survivor journey for me, where I get to do a Survivor 42 podcast. But I've enjoyed kind of having a bit of a career shift. I'm doing TV, media, PR appearances and whatnot, it's always fun to engage with Survivor fans, and I get to live my best life, and Survivor gave me that opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for it.
Yeah, you definitely have like a one-of-a-kind life where I just watch you always doing something cool. Like you're at the Easter show for like a week taking photos with people.
Yes.
Like you are our closest thing to Boston Rob. Like I don't even know like what the equivalent is. Like I don't know if Survivor even has someone that they're like peddling out to Comic-Con the way that they do with you. Like it's such a unique position in the world.
Can I just say 10-hour meet and greets 10 days 10-hour meet and greets 10 days in a row.
Oh, fuck off.
Sounded a lot less intense on paper than it was in reality, but at least I got to practice my endurance.
Had you already had COVID at that point? Because that feels like
no, I had it the
that's
week.
why you got it.
I had it the week before, and I'm quite thankful for that, because I can guarantee you there was no super spreading event like 100,000 people a day at the Sydney Royal Oyster Show.
It's a lot, but it looked fun. I'm sorry that I couldn't get out there to see it myself, but it looked like everyone was having a good time with that. But you mentioned kind of the journey that 41 and 42 were filming during Brains vs. Brawn, and it's been kind of this whole cycle that you've been a part of, and then obviously with Blood vs. Water and Talking Tribal, like it all kind of sinks into each other. What have you thought of season 42, just big picture?
Big picture, I've kind of been watching 42 as a casual, so I've just been watching it when I can on TV, on, usually the morning after. Thursday nights aren't really the best for me right now, and I think as a casual viewer and ex-Survivor player, my thoughts on 42 is I think it's been an enjoyable season. I don't think it's a classic season. I think the cast on this season are very game-botty, which tends to stifle the entertainment of the show. In saying that, I have enjoyed it. The characters that I found the most enjoyable, or the character that I found most enjoyable, is Mary Ann by an absolute country mile. She's just absolute TV magic. And I've enjoyed watching her navigate the game in the positions that she's found herself in. And then everybody else, I think, has a lot of backstory that kind of focuses over their gameplay, for better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, Marianne is such a standout. I've spoken so much about how much I love her because she brings joy to the screen, clear returnee from episode 1, and then for her to do what she did in this episode, which we'll obviously talk about, but with so much power and so much beauty and grace, and to articulate it in the way that she did, I keep being impressed. Like, she's a few years younger than me, and maybe I shouldn't kind of look at the disparity in the way that I always have. Like, how does she have that sense of self-awareness so young? Like, I wish I had the sense of, like, self-acceptance in past when I was her age, even though it's only a few years ago. But to see her again act beyond her age, beyond my age, beyond probably people much older than me age, again, like, it just brings more power to her character. It's like, what can't she do? And I also love the way that she's playing the game. So we'll talk about it. As I said, obviously this was an emotionally weighty episode with a lot of important topics. If you're listening to this, please, go listen to Jamal with Rob. I've listened to about 45 minutes of that, and then there'll be like Survivor News with Bryce and Wendell, which I think will dive into that in ways that we can't, because as Stephen said on Know-It-Alls, we have a very limited perspective. We're going to give that perspective around largely the strategy of these two big votes, and kind of talk about the strategic domino effect in chronological order with all of that, and give our thoughts on it. But again, I don't think that this is like the most crucial podcast this week. If it ever is, there are definitely other content everyone should be checking out. I hope that you do, and we're going to kind of give our perspective with that. But George, I wanted to ask you before we get into the votes, which I do think were true, like massive votes, like the majority cracked, like it was cracking on both sides, which was crazy. But what do you feel about the twist that allows these votes to happen?
Oh, the good old twist. So having come from a season of Survivor that was really lambasted by Survivor superfans throughout the world and, in Australia about being very twist heavy, the fact that you are split into essentially a tribe of 5 by pulling out a rock before an immunity challenge, and then everything just gets thrown out the window. And unlike Australian Survivor, a twist doesn't mean a non-elimination leg. It means you're out there on the jury. I think it's really kind of harsh on the players out there. I don't mind the game mechanics that we've seen in 41.
Technically, I want to play more, but
I find it interesting the fact that you can walk up the hill and risk your vote or get an advantage. I find it interesting that you can play a shot in the dark, and then it impacts on the number of votes that are and are not available, or you have a certain percentage of getting immunity. And, as a player out there, you would have to factor in a lot more things than just simple numbers in working out who to vote for and why. But to just get split into those two groups of 5, I would have been fuming. I think it's one of the worst possible twists I've ever seen. At 10, particularly given that both players are out there on the jury bench. I think for someone like Romeo, he should be very thankful that it didn't go as expected. He really was slim pickings out there, and I'm sure we'll delve into it a bit further into your podcast. But, I mean, hypothetically, like if Jonathan doesn't win immunity there, he's toast. He's just absolutely out and gone without any hope of survival because of a random twist.
I mean, I don't mind it for the main reason for me, and I know that the conversation has been around, like, well, it takes away the final 9 vote, which is such a big vote in the game, and I agree with that. But I think the players are aware of losing that final 9. So to go from 10 to 8, I think that's the thing that we see force these shifts. It's also, obviously, you have new options, you have kind of new numbers to work with in a smaller group. But also, it seemed to be like Taku was very much like, oh, we could be 4 of 8, like, we better get this done, really getting ourselves into this really strong positioning. So I think rushing through the game and really triggering the end game, because you've gone from 10 to 8, which is a very, very different game, and that's why the final 9 is so crucial, because it's like this crucial juncture that we're now rushing past. That does kind of